Welcome everyone to our Saturday morning webinar. I'm Judy Feldhausen, and I am so honored today to be with my co-host, Bob Wischmeier.
Great to be here too, Judy. Thank you so much.
It is so awesome. Before the webinar started, we were just talking that we have been doing this for 20 consecutive months. You know, that's a year and a half.
I know.
It's amazing. And we have one more lesson by John Maxwell in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. So we're looking forward to ending the book and are looking for suggestions to for our next review of a great book such as this one has been. And today we're talking about the law of explosive growth.
If I drop down now.
And if you could mute your phone in the background. I don't know who's talking at the moment, but if you could mute your phone, that would be great. So, whoops, sorry, getting ahead of myself, getting really ahead of myself. The this law, I think, Bob, is so so in line with network marketing and what we want to accomplish in network marketing and becoming leaders in network marketing. We really need this law. So as we talk about the law of explosive growth, if you are on our team, in the Global Health Makeover team, think about how it applies to you and your business and how you can take advantage of really what this law means to you. You know, building a line of not just customers, which are really important. Don't get me wrong, we need to have customers. It is the core of our business. But if you truly want explosive growth, what you want to do is build a business of leaders so that they then can create their own downlines, their own customers. And one of my mentors a long time ago said, I would rather have 100 people doing 1% of the work in my downline than me do 100% of the work in my downline. So if you think of that, the better your downline is, the stronger it is, the more leaders you have in your downline, the more that you will create that residual income and have the life that you really want to have. Isn't that right, Bob?
Well, that's exactly right. You're talking about the very core concept of multi-level marketing. It's predicated on building a business of leaders, right? Duplicating yourself. I think everyone understands that. So as we go through this particular chapter, this law of explosive growth, the whole concept here is to focus on, we need customer acquisition, but boy, if we can build leaders, you know, then that kind of residual income is going to happen to us. So, that's totally correct. You want to build that downline with good, strong leaders in your downline, and then it'll take off.
It is one that I got off the internet, but I was in a picture like this, standing, I think we were in Washington, D.C., with a group of distributors. It was pre-Synergy, but with actually the company merged with Synergy. But we stood on some steps, and there had to be 300 of us standing on those steps in Washington, D.C. And it was such an amazing feeling that I was really with a group of individuals who really multiplied who they were and what they did. And the headline on this slide is, to add growth, you lead followers, but to multiply, you lead leaders. And our leadership team had weekly meetings, and there was about 20 of us on those weekly meetings talking about how we were going to expand our downlines. It was an amazing thing, and had so much excitement and energy around just being in with that team. And
you can.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Judy. I was just going to say, you can feel it. That synergistic experience of being with that many like-minded people. If you want to, kind of the bottom line, I think, for all of us on this call, in particular as Synergy team members, is that if you develop yourself, you're going to experience personal growth, personal success. I think we all understand that. Multi-level marketing is all about personal growth. If you develop a team, your organization is going to grow, right, as you put your team together. But most important, and it's called leaders math, understanding leadership math, is that if you develop leaders, your organization can achieve explosive growth because you're focusing your attention on working with leaders. And when you work with leaders, they're working with their people. It just goes from there exponentially.
That's right. And one of the things that was my question, and probably part of my downfall as a new leader in network marketing, is that I felt that I had to work with everybody. I had a list of all my people, and I would try to rotate through that list to help motivate and inspire and be a good friend to my entire downline. And what I found was that people would relish talking to me and would enjoy and would engage and ask questions. And probably, though, about 80% of them would not really relish my phone calls. They would answer questions with one-word answers, and some of them eventually stopped taking my calls. And so what I learned, that although I want to engage with all of my downline, it's difficult to do it all of them because there's so many, but we want to work with the people that really want to work, that are eager to develop themselves and their team. And I think
that's it. That's that 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah, I think that's the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced that. Judy, you've got some pizza talk to do here.
I do have some pizza talk, and it's going to be a surprise to Bob. So we were talking about our books being different versions, and I have the story in my book, and Bob does not, and I thought it was really interesting about explosive growth around pizza. It's kind of a favorite food of the American pastime, and John Maxwell mentioned it in his book, so I thought I would share it a little bit about a 22-year-old named John Schnatter. And a lot of you may not recognize that name. He was a young guy that started making and selling pizzas in a converted broom closet. So just imagine this young guy loving pizza, selling his pizza out of a broom closet. And he did that successfully. He actually made enough money to actually rent a place next door to the broom closet. It was actually in a tavern. And in 7 years, he was actually able to open 46 stores all alone. And that was, he started in 1984. By 1991, he actually doubled that. That was, what is that? Not even 10 years. 7 years later, he doubled it to 110 units. And the next year, he doubled again to 220 stores, which is amazing to me. But then something interesting happened. The name of the pizza, by the way, is Papa John's. Some of you may have heard that before. And what he did is he actually hired the CEO, and when he did that, then actually the key to leadership actually really came into effect, because he hired another leader. And so between the two of them, Papa John's has really become a neighborhood pizza place. I don't know in any big city where there is not at least one Papa John's. There's now well over 600 stores. It's an amazing story, and it was one person who worked really hard, but then developed leaders, hired leaders that helped him grow exponentially into that successful business that it is today. Isn't that an interesting story, Bob?
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that kind of thing, kind of a rags to riches sort of an idea. But I really appreciate it when we hear stories about people, entrepreneurs who come up with a good idea, but are eventually become wise enough as they get some experience, they grow a little bit, they become wise enough to realize that, we can do better, but I need to have I have to have more leadership in here. It takes a little bit of humility to do that, or maybe we need to be overwhelmed from time to time in order for us to get the drift. So we look at that, and then we look at our own lives, and this is what we need to do this morning, is think about the synergy businesses that we have created. These are home-based businesses. They start small, $24.95 one time when you become a distributor with an initial order. So we're talking about little tiny businesses, but in order to grow them, we need to be wise enough to realize that on the one hand, we need to have customers, as Dan always has talked about, customer acquisition. And then through those customers or other sources, we need to find team members, people who want to become distributors, people who want to create a home-based business. And we've got to be able to separate those two things, those two kinds of people, and bring them into the company either as preferred customers or as distributors. And we need to be wise in the process, because becoming a leader who develops leaders requires an entirely different focus and attitude from just getting customers. It takes a different mindset, if you will. And when you think about our business model, where we focus on customer acquisition, product-based business, right? We lead with our product. But when we find somebody that does want to create a business, does want to move forward, then our focus has to change. Whenever I think of being a sponsor, I also think of the word responsibility. They come hand in glove. And when someone wants to become a synergy distributor, join our team, we have a responsibility then to lead them forward, to help them. But we also have to be wise, as you just said, in that whole 80-20 concept. If we can focus on that 20% of people who really want to do something with their business, then we can have the kind of growth that we're looking for. Then we can create the kind of residual income. You can absolutely wear yourself to a frazzle working with that 80% of people who just are the dump, just kind of moving along. But we are looking to duplicate ourselves. And I think that in our business, we realize that good leaders, when you stop and think about it, good leaders lead not only for the sake of the team members, but also for the legacy that they can leave behind. And we want to leave that kind of legacy. And when you look at Synergy's compensation plan, that compensation plan is designed specifically to help everyone. Once you've signed up one person on your left side and one person on your right side, the third person you sign up has to go under either one of those. So what they do benefits the person above them. And it just goes on and on like that. The whole comp plan is designed to strengthen that team. It's, I think, an absolutely brilliant compensation plan. And that's one of the beauties of being involved with Synergy Worldwide. It may be a little bit challenging sometimes to find those leaders, find individuals who want to move forward with a home-based business, Judy. But boy, when we do, when we can, boy, it's like hitting a home run, right? Back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something about duplicating ourselves. That is so true. And I have a personal mantra that I just tell myself, I want to recruit up. I want to recruit someone who's better than me. Because that's the beauty of this business is, wow, if you can have someone that is making a lot of money and is working really hard and developing a wonderful downline, then you benefit from that because of the mega match, right? Compensation plan. It's just totally amazing. And fruit up. It's hard to duplicate ourselves. It's not simple, but it is developing ourselves to become a better leader, to find a better leader. They just don't fall in our lap.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And that's kind of, Stu Rutter mentioned this the other night when he was speaking on Brian Holt's call, that in this business, people under you can make way more money than you do. People that you say, it's not a pyramid. People who come into this business underneath of you, maybe even way far down underneath of you, have the potential to create their own business and do great. What you just mentioned, you remember Kareem Brandley used to talk about deck profiling, where you, remember, and you would look at individuals and you'd kind of try to profile them a little bit in your mind, or even just sit down and make yourself a few notes about the individuals, but that you wanted to try to find people who were at least the same as you or above you in profiling. Those are the kind of people you want to bring into your organization because of their potential leadership skills.
Exactly. And this really is leaders math, right? So you add followers or customers in our case. Those are our followers. And you can develop leaders from those followers, from our customer base. I talked to somebody again this week that again said, I might want to join this company. And I told him, well, if you're going to do it for a business and just for money, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you're going to do it because you love the product, use the product first. Love the product. And I will help you then develop as a leader in this company with our amazing products. And when you do that, it exponentially multiplies the downline.
It's a great business model. There's no question. And key to all of this, and I think everyone on this webinar understands it very clearly, but key to all of this is that we have to be continually talking about our product. If we're not doing that, if we're not opening our mouths and sharing things with people, then it's not going to go forward. You can't just sit around and hope that followers are going to come into your world. We had just a couple of days ago, we had a Persian rug that we sold, and some people came from like 2 hours away to come look at this rug, which kind of surprised me. That's a long ways to come to look at a rug, but they came. Fun. They were just kind of I don't know. We just had a common bond, or it was just, we became friends. Let me put it that way. We became friends, and they wanted to look all over our little farm here and look around and tell us about their place, etc. Well, at one point, when it was kind of quiet and we'd gone in the house and sat down, this fellow started telling me about his brother who's severe diabetic and having problems with his feet. Well, that just, here we become friends. And so without being obtrusive, I mentioned to him something about nitric oxide therapy. And I led into it very slowly. You know, I didn't want to scare him or chase him away, but he had questions. And as he asked questions, I gave him more information. And before they left here, I got his email address, and he wanted as much information about this as he could possibly get. And so I sat down and used the resources, you guys, that we have at our fingertips, Dan's wonderful videos, all kinds of stuff. And I got his email, and I sent him several hours worth of research to do. He's already written back, very interested for himself and for his brother. So the point being that if we're even going to add followers, we've got to be talking about our business. We have to talk to people about it and share it. And it's like Dane says, you know, I'm doing you a favor when I tell you about this product, you know. It's not hard to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about their health, right?
That's true. So then we get to the part where how then who is a leader? What do they do? How do they become and act as a leader? And so John Maxwell actually had these 7 different tips that he believed made a leader. And, you know, the first one is that desire, the want to be successful. You have to have that in your gut. You have to have that why and that want, because it's true. If you just sit around and expect them to come, it's not going to happen.
No, and you get back to that business of, treating your business as a business. If you want to be successful, you can't just play with it. You got to do it. You know, I've owned a couple of brick and mortar businesses in my lifetime, and man, it's hard work. You know, even just to pay the bills, you got to work your tail off. Well, if you put that kind of energy into your synergy business, you're going to be way more successful than if you don't.
Yes, and being able to treat the people in our downline as individuals and really getting to know their challenges, know their strengths, and how they can impact their followers and their family for the best impact they can have, not only for their business, but for their life also.
Yeah. You know, as you were saying that, I was thinking about one of the things that Dan has done just here in the last few months is to create an incentive program. And it comes back to how important it is that we reward those who are working hard. There's something really important with regard to that, rewarding those people who want to become leaders, who are working hard at their business, trying to improve their business, and then we reward them. Synergy does that. You know, you get your name up on their monthly blog. There are retreats for people, that kind of thing. There's always some kind of a reward going on with Synergy Worldwide, and it's a lot of fun. And so we need to remember that when we look at our downline, we look at the people, our team members who are working hard, and we want to reward them for that, Judy. I think that's important as well.
It really is. It really is. And, you know, and that brings us to strength. So Synergy is really focusing on the strength of their leaders. And we need to individually focus on our own strengths and not focus on our weaknesses. You know, it used to be believed that if you focus on your weaknesses, that you will improve your weaknesses to become strengths. And I really believe that thought has shifted. And if we focus on our strengths and develop our strengths, our weaknesses tend to not be important anymore. They tend to fall away and they naturally develop, or we get someone else to do it. As a leader, we don't need to do it all. So focusing on our strength is so important.
Yeah, it is, Judy. I think part of that too is being, as a leader in our business, is being wise enough to know when to reach up for a little bit of help. There's always going to be a question or a concern that comes up that we don't have an answer to. And so because we try to be good, strong leaders, we also need to be wise enough that when that kind of thing comes up, when someone brings us something that's a little unusual, that we are wise enough to go up the chain a little bit, talk to our sponsor, talk to someone else, get answers for people. And you do it from a position of strength. You know, the question comes up and you say, you know what, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure the answer. Hold on, I'll get that answer for you. I'll be right back. That kind of thing. That you're a good leader and that you're strong.
And that's definitely not a weakness.
No, not
to be
at all.
able to do that. It is a strength.
Yeah.
And we've talked about developing the top 20%. So important in our business.
Well, yeah, it just is that we all know, I think every one of us here understands that 80% of folks that we work with who are just kind of the dumping along. We need, I don't want to say it the wrong way. We need those folks too. They are our friends. We care about them. Don't get me wrong. They're important to us. Every customer is important to us. Every team member is important to us. But there's only going to be a handful of those people who really want to develop a business. So from a business perspective, we need to put our focus and our energy with that little group of folks that want to move forward. That doesn't mean that we ignore others. We've got to be cautious that we don't waste our energy. That's probably not the right word, Judy, but we don't want to get sucked dry, you know, engaged in hours of conversation that really isn't going anywhere. Maybe I'm not saying that right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still important to be in connection with everyone. And I have found that when you stay in connection with them, that those people may develop into leaders at some point because of your love and caring. You don't want to ignore them. You just don't want to focus on them. You just want to continue to touch base with them.
Exactly.
And I thought this interesting to give your power away. Have you ever had a boss, Bob, that was so totally controlling that he needed to see everything you did and made sure that nothing got out without his knowledge? He had his fingers in everything. And had total control over his department.
You mean it like a micromanager?
Yeah, like a micromanager.
Drive you nuts. It's crazy, you know. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to give power away. You have to allow others to grow. You have to learn to delegate and allow people around you to take the load off.
You know, that reminds me of when my kids were small and I made them sweep the floor. And I had friends say, why do you let them sweep your floor? They do such a rotten job. You're just going to have to do it. No, if they sweep the floor, if they sweep it enough, they're going to start doing a good job, and then I'm not going to have to do it anymore.
No, you know, you're spot on. It's just kind of like raising kids on the ranch, you know. They don't always do things right. You know, they maybe don't get, the fencing doesn't get done right or whatever. But I've always said, you know, I'm not in the business of raising cows. I'm in the business of raising children. I'm raising boys. And what's most important is that those boys have opportunity to do the job. I could do the job better myself most of the time, but they needed to have that opportunity. And so that's the way we did it, and they've grown up to be good, strong men.
Yeah, they really have. And so the next arrow here is investing time in others, and that's what you did with those boys. You invested your time.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And so when you do that, you really do grow by multiplication.
Yeah. Yeah, that's happened to me. I have 12 grandchildren now. See, so yeah.
So that multiplication works. Absolutely.
I'm not sure that's exactly what we're talking about here, but it fit. Well, yeah, you know, and this is the thing. When we look at our synergy businesses, if we're going to be a good sponsor, we need to understand these things. We need to make these a part of our life. And as we work with people, as we engage with people in our downline, friends, customers, whatever, we want to keep our focus where it needs to be. And we need to remain leaders in a kind way. But if we do, we're going to see the impact. We will.
And really, it is about impact, isn't it? It's that really, when you come down to it, you want to make an impact on so many people with this product and with this wonderful opportunity, far beyond what we could have imagined when we became a distributor.
Yeah, exactly. And how far-reaching it can be. You know, it's usually not the person that you're looking at, the person you just signed up who's going to grow the business, but somebody that they know or someone else. We have all these touches with people, and we never know where that's going to go. You know, the impact can go far beyond, as it says on the screen here, impact people far beyond their own. It's just how it works. It's an interesting business. There's no question.
It absolutely is. So, Bob, I hope that we made some type of impact on the people that are listening to this webinar today. And do you have anything else that you want to add before we take some questions?
No, I don't, Judy. I think we've pretty much covered what I had in my notes for today. I've enjoyed this. When I first went through this particular chapter of explosive growth, I had to kind of wrap my mind around how to present this the right way. But I think we've done it fine. I think it's been a good webinar. But we'd love to hear from the participants. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts for us, we're good to go here. Unmute your phone or your computer and we can chat.
Thank you, everyone, for doing that and muting your phones and your computers. We really appreciate it. But now's the time to unmute if you have any questions. And if not, we can just finish right here.
You guys did a wonderful job. And in my daily, at work, that micromanagement mentality, I see it dividing our teams every day, and it gets worse and worse every day. And but you know, there's a lot of this that I wish I could just like take to work and show them. You guys need to read this book, even just read this chapter. Because you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Tracy.
Really kind of you, Tracy. Thanks. Yeah, one of the things that I have enjoyed, I think, the very most about this particular business plan, this multi-level marketing business plan, is that it really is we really do focus on self-improvement. And I don't think anything that I've done, any business that I've been involved in the past has caused me to focus more on self-improvement than this business has. I've always been able to work hard, you know, and been successful in business just by working hard. But this is different. This has been bigger, I think, if you will, better for me anyway. And I think it's helped my family. You know, I've been able to share things I've learned through the different these different books that we've been reading and studying on. Been able to share that with my kids, and that's been helpful too, Judy.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can pass on sometimes without even realizing it. My granddaughter the other day said, "Grandma, every time I ask a question, you give a lesson. Why is that?" It's like, that's just kind of what I do. It's that's how you can answer questions most effectively is attach a lesson to it.
You know, there's so much truth to that, and we're really out of time, but I'll share just a little story. When my boys were little, we used to go snowshoeing a lot in Montana. I used to take them out to a cabin, and we would snowshoe when there was a full moon, so it would be nighttime. And you know what it's like when there's a lot of snow on the ground and in the mountains and a full moon. It's bright outside. The snow just sparkles. It's really neat. And I was snowshoeing with my son, Ben. He was just a little guy, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And we snowshoed up an old logging road, and we came across a little tree. And that little tree came up out of the snow, out of the ground, and it was bent on a 90-degree angle, you know, broken. But it healed over, and then it was bent on another 90-degree angle, going right straight back up in the air, straight up. And, you know, you talk about finding opportunities to teach and to share. I knelt down on my snowshoes right there with my little boy, and I said, Benny, look at this tree. Look at this tree. Look, it was broken right in half, but it healed. See how it healed? And then it turned round and turned back up, and it's heading right back up towards the light. I said, this is what life is like, son. Sometimes we get bent, sometimes we get broken, but the most important thing is to heal and then to go back towards the light, grow again. And he's never forgotten that. He was a little boy. He's like almost 40 years old now. He still talks about that little life lesson. So, yeah, we use our life experiences to share with our children, to share with others. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, all about impact, isn't it?
It's impact.
And we got a message here from John. Thank you, John. He says, this has been a wonderful presentation. Really like the part about focusing on your strengths and further develop them and not your weakness. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, John. Any other questions or thoughts?
Very good morning.
Hi, Donald.
Judy and Bob, another nugget in your awesome series. Really appreciate these nuggets. Books that I've read over the years, and you guys find time to really bring it all together for me. Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. We're glad we can, and everybody loves you, Donald. You got a lot of friends, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Donald. Okay, anybody else before we wrap this up today?
Hello, this is Charity from the UK.
Hey, Charity.
Hi. Hello. This has been an interesting and very impacting series. And especially today's episode, I really enjoyed your story about that pizza, Papa John's.
Yes.
What a great and inspirational story. I mean, there are Papa John's everywhere. I never knew how it all came about. Very inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing that and everything else that you shared. So much impacting on me.
Well, thank you, Charity, for joining us from the UK. We hope that you can have more of you over there and develop some leaders of your own.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Charity.
Thank you.
Okay, Judy, are we done?
I think we're done.
All right, guys. God bless you all, and we'll see you again before you know it.
Bless you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.